Alright, what is up you guys? I am here with the Survivor Series 2012 pay-per-view review. Now this one was one I was kind of scared to go back and watch because, you know, this is during the PG era. Not many pay-per-views do I go back and watch during the PG era. So, I was a little reluctant, I guess you could say. But this ended up not being quite as bad as... Not as I remembered, but it kind of has that aura around it where it's just not a good pay-per-view. And, you know, this isn't one that I watched live. I have watched it years ago, but going back and revisiting it, it has its bright moments, but at the same time, there's really only one big thing this pay-per-view is remembered for. And we will get to that at the end. And you probably pretty much already know what I'm talking about. So the opening contest, we had a bonus Survivor Series elimination match. Brodus Clay, Justin Gabriel, Rey Mysterio, Sin Cara, and Tyson Kidd versus the primetime players, Primo and Epico, and Tensai. Everyone loves Tensai. But even better than Tensai, Brodus fucking Clay. I could not stand this at the time. Honestly, Brodus Clay was literally something I would always make sure I skipped. But, at the same time, looking back at it now, it was getting over. It actually really could have worked. And then he just kind of became a joke. It's like a joke as a joke. Like, yes, they know it's this retarded gimmick, but they want you to go with it. It's like Al Snow in the head. Or Val Venus. Even Goldust in a lot of ways. A lot of people just went with it and enjoyed it for what it was. But this match went 18 minutes and 27 seconds. Kind of quick eliminations. And it ended up being Rey Mysterio, Sin Cara, Justin Gabriel, and Tyson Kidd. So 4 survivors, which was pretty cool. So yeah, Brodus Clay, fuck you. You're the only one to get eliminated on that team. And then we had Eve Torres versus Caitlyn. This went 7 minutes and 1 second. You know, a lot of people liked Caitlyn at the time, and a lot of people still like Eve Torres. Caitlyn really seems to get lost in the fold in a lot of ways. Like, half the people watching this review might not even remember who she was. You know, Eve Torres was kind of that baby face they were going with, you know, finally. You know, she kind of had a slow build up to the championship. She had a somewhat decent run. She wasn't the most talented. I think Caitlyn was kind of the more talented of the bunch here. But overall, it's not a bad match. Then we had Antonio Cesaro defeating R-Truth for the United States Championship. I'm not even going to get into how badly they've dropped the ball on Cesaro since this. I mean, this is 2012. He's the mid-card champion, and things are really looking bright for him. Can't wait to see what he has in the future. And then, of course, they just dropped the ball on him. And, you know, this ends in disqualification. No, sorry. This did not end in disqualification. That's the next match. But yeah, Cesaro and R-Truth, kind of your generic 7-minute match. R-Truth was still in a time where he wasn't this big joke. You know, he was coming off the Little Jimmy gimmick. Oh, God. The Little Jimmy gimmick. It's one of those things that's so bad that it was genius. But, you know, Cesaro picking up not the most impressive win because it's R-Truth. But, you know, I just wish at this time, even kind of now, mid-card titles aren't really anything that important. But during the PG era, they were 10 times less important than they are now. And this kind of shows it. Next up, we had Sheamus defeating Big Show by disqualification. 14 minutes and 44 seconds. So, their Hell in a Cell 2012 match ended up being kind of that big surprise match that not a lot of people were expecting. Sheamus is one of the most boring gimmicks of all time. I don't think too many people would disagree with me on that one. I've never been a Sheamus fan, and Big Show can be a hit or a miss. He's either really good or he's just kind of a booking mess in terms of just turning heel, face, crying, having to apologize for crying, having to start crying because he apologized for crying. It's Big Show in the PG era. There was a lot of crying, and there were a lot of heel turns. But, you know, this match wasn't nearly as good as their Hell in a Cell match, and honestly, they should have just left it at that. Next up, we have Team Ziggler, which was Del Rio, Damien Sandow, David Otunga, Dolph Ziggler, and Wade Barrett, against Team Foley. So, you know, Mick Foley was kind of the stand-in manager here. And representing Mick Foley, we had Daniel Bryan, Kane, Kofi Kingston, The Miz, and Randy Orton. This went 23 minutes and 43 seconds. I think, if anything, this could have went a little longer. But, you know, I understand. Can't really go too much longer. You know, it's a less than 3-hour pay-per-view. But, you know, this ended up being a pretty good elimination match. You know, I think it was a lot better than the opening match. And, you know, kind of better than, you know, the 2010 or 11 Survivor Series matches. So it was kind of a good improvement. But this match really had no consequences. You know, a lot of people thought Mick Foley was possibly going to have a match with Dolph Ziggler. Or someone else, for that matter. You know, I remember when this match was announced, I was like, oh shit, you know, Mick Foley could get physical. He could be in this match. Who knows? But, you know, I understand Mick Foley. He's up there in age. You know, his knees are shot. He literally cannot get in the ring anymore. You know, you want to add star power to this match, and that did that. So, you know, no fault to Mick Foley there. I just kind of wish this had more of a consequence. Because after this, it was just kind of you know? It just, there was really no backlash to this. But the order of, I can't talk, wow. The order of eliminations, we had Damien Sandow. Who else would you expect to be eliminated first? Kane, David Otunga, Kofi Kingston, Daniel Bryan, Wade Barrett, The Miz, Alberto Del Rio, and then Randy Orton and Dolph Ziggler were the final two, with Ziggler surviving. So this was kind of big for Dolph Ziggler. You know, he was Money in the Bank holder. And he had a very bright future at the time, and kind of a very unpredictable future as well. And then we had our beautiful main event. CM Punk, who was your champion, and he had won the title at Survivor Series 2011. So going into 2012 Survivor Series as champion was impressive. And then you had John Cena and Ryback. So this was a triple threat match for the WWE Championship. Going into this, the geniuses over at Titan Towers thought it would be a great fucking idea to turn CM Punk heel at Raw 1000. Good idea, guys. Let's take your huge babyface, who clearly a lot of people are behind. You know, he's really pushing merchandise sales. CM Punk is a great star in the company at this time, so you turn him fucking heel. And this was basically just inevitable. We knew he was going to face The Rock somewhere. And, you know, it was announced for Royal Rumble 2013. And then, of course, you have the heel turn. So, obviously, these matches are just predictable at this point. Okay. CM Punk is a natural-born heel, but I just don't think it made much sense to have him turn heel that soon into his title reign. You know, at that point, it was about, you know, 2/3 of the way done. So, I just didn't like the dynamic here between Ryback, John Cena, and CM Punk. Ryback, who was really being, you know, pushed. He was really kind of being built up as the, I don't want to say it, but kind of the next Goldberg, kind of that big baby face. You know, the Goldberg chants were already here. But, you know, I just think this match really just felt out of place in terms of Ryback. I just think this would have worked better as just Cena and CM Punk. Ryback was just kind of shoehorned in a lot of ways. So, really not an impressive triple threat main event. This is not a match I'd ever want to see, really, which is unfortunate because I am a CM Punk fan and I'm a moderate John Cena fan. Just do something else at that point. But then we have the historic debut of The Shield. And none of us knew at the time how big this was truly going to be. So this pay-per-view is pretty historic, really for that reason alone. And that's really the only reason anyone remembers this fucking pay-per-view. In terms of a letter grade, I will give this pay-per-view a C. Match quality-wise, it's okay at points. But a lot of this felt just like a B pay-per-view. You show me this card, I'm gonna really just think it's a Battleground or a Payback or even, you know, just Great Balls of Fire. I don't know. But let me know your thoughts on Survivor Series 2012. For now, this has been the DVD Freak. Peace out.